Hello, everybody. My name is Dan P.
Dan's
I'm
back
with UniqueDrops.com. Ask for it by name. And welcome to the weekly Discourse. I'd like to introduce my compatriots, as always, every week.
when he's not out of the country.
Chris,
I mean, we
what's
hold
up,
it down.
Chris?
Welcome back, Dan.
Thank you. John,
You're
what's
here.
up?
Thank God. We have somebody who might be able to steer the ship out of the iceberg.
well, we're going to try. I'd like to start off with wishing everybody a happy National Video Game Day.
It's a fake holiday.
Plant your tree, tip your secretary, whatever you do on
I hope
it.
you didn't work too hard.
Open your third eye. It's all fake.
Open
shit.
your 14 presents, as is tradition on National Video Game
Illuminati.
Day. All right, so I've been gone for a while, so I'm going to give a little bit of update on some games I played because I was away from my computer.
Yeah, your
And,
lifeblood.
my
was
lifeblood.
here.
And I downloaded and beat My Friend Pedro
Mm-hmm.
on the Nintendo Switch, which is not the most ideal way to play that game because, or at least mobile version
In
of the
handheld
Switch
mode?
in handheld mode, because the buttons all kind of mashed together, but
A little bit.
kind of persevered and everything like that. That is a pretty cool game. That kind of loses steam towards the end. It's about like some dude who listens to a banana
Yeah.
and then he goes and kills a bunch of people. But the cool thing about that game is that there is a dedicated dodge button, which makes him do all kinds of funky things. And it's also super kind of janky because it just seems like he's some kind of like physics model that sometimes bends in strange ways.
It's Gary's mod. It's,
Yeah.
You know, you just
And then
see how physics fucks up.
you can slow down time and also shoot in multiple directions at the same time. So you can kind of do the whole John Woo, Max Payne kind of stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, it concentrates on a lot of cool shooting in the beginning and kind of devolves into a little bit of like platformer puzzle solving at the end, which I didn't like so much.
It's another puzzle platformer
Yeah.
in the end.
And then there's like there's awkward bosses,
Mhm.
which are not the greatest, and then the end boss is kind of meh. But when that thing is rolling, when you're hopping from your skateboard and doing kickflips while spinning in the air and shooting people with two Uzis in two separate directions, and then landing on a barrel and then rolling down a hill while continuously to shoot people.
In a
great.
banana suit, right?
No.
No.
He's not in a banana
No.
suit. That's
No.
right.
No, he's got kind of, I don't know, he kind of looks like an extra from Final Fight.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got kind of like that weird hoodie
Uh-huh.
thing,
Yeah,
and he's got like a mask. I
Character
don't know.
designs aren't anything to go
Yeah,
home
there's like a
about.
story. I don't know what the story
Sure.
is.
I
you-
do. I'm
you-
deep in the lore.
Chris is right in the wiki.
No.
You fight your sister at the end. Oh, spoilers.
Whew, whoa, man. I'll put a spoiler alert on that.
Blowing up this spot here.
Just
Serious.
goes for I like the game enough though that I kind of want to play it on the PC so I could do really really cool tricks. What sucks is I couldn't save any video clips. It's one of those games where it just won't record video clips.
That is
Oh, when
true.
you hold down the button, the capture button. Oh,
It
bummer.
says no, you're not allowed to do this.
That's weird.
It is.
They
'cause
still do that stuff.
That's the kind of game where you want to show off the move you did.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game that you want to create a GIF out of.
Yeah, those games are wonderful, and this one wouldn't
Yeah.
let you.
I also briefly played some. Actually, not briefly. I played a lot of Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I got Cyclops and Colossus.
Oh, did they release finally?
They got released.
Nice. I
You
need
have to
to-
unlock them. They're pretty cool. But kind of just default to my regular folks.
Your teams. You
Yeah.
got your Kamala Khan. I'm a
That
big
game gets extraordinarily hard at
Yeah.
the end, or at least with the
next
the-
difficulty level.
the difficulty level that we kind of left up on. And then when I came back, I immediately bought Control because that's the thing to do.
It's the zeitgeist.
It's the zeitgeist. Everybody's talking about Control.
It's all right, Chris.
I didn't exhibit any self-control and bought a $60 game
Off of the Epic Store.
off of the Epic Store, yes. And I played maybe about 3 hours of that game, and it seemed pretty cool.
Yeah.
like the story and setup and stuff like that is pretty top notch with remedies and kind of setting the tone of like their atmosphere and stuff like that. But I kind of am iffy on the combat. We'll see when I get more powers and stuff. I just unlocked the telekinesis thing. It's okay.
The grab and throw.
Yeah, it's not the greatest, at least so far.
I've gotten to the point where I've unlocked another power. I don't know how much you've heard about like some of the powers. I don't want to spoil anything specifically, but I got at least one more power. But I also got some of the mods because there's mods in the game to mod your powers. I got a few mods that actually a few ability upgrades for the throw.
Yeah.
And that thing pretty much wrecks shop once you upgrade it a few times.
Oh yeah.
So I do appreciate the fact that it's got a generous auto aim on it. Like I like that it's not something that I have to find aim all the time because when you're in that combat, it gets a little frantic.
Oh yeah, there's no problem with actually like doing a whole bunch of badass damage in that game.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually just the combat is just kind of because there's no real cover system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of want you to also take cover, and like your run is kind of strange, and yeah, it's weird. It kind of feels tacked on in the way that Alan Wake's combat felt a little tacked on.
I hated Alan Wake, honestly. That was not my cup of tea especially the combat was the thing that killed that game for me. But Control is a good evolution, I think, of what they did in Quantum Break, because I'm the only one who played that out of us.
Yes.
And so it feels better than that did, especially as I've been gaining more powers. So
Well, I just can't wait for it to come to Switch, and then I'll play.
I'll be interested
That
to
game
see.
is never gonna run on that Switch, man.
Yes, I know.
I mean, I
I'll
don't know
play
what
it.
gremlins they made to do Doom on that thing, but there's no way that thing is. It's having a hard time on Ultra on my computer. Sometimes there's definitely
Yeah.
I have to turn off VSync, so there's a little bit of weird tearing, but I kind of just got used to it. I couldn't play that with the mouse and keyboard because there's no walk on the
You
mouse
just
and
run?
keyboard. You just run, so
Run
you
from
have to
place to
use the
place?
analog.
Yeah.
So there's no like. It always just seems like she's in a hurry. And then when you're like in a room kind of like looking around, it's like, oh, I want to go look at that stuff because they have like, cool stuff like written down and the thing.
Yeah.
She's just like sprinting like 2 feet across the room and then stop and like hitting the wall.
I
and
was gonna say,
stopping.
does she run into things?
No,
Like,
she doesn't
it's-
run into things like that. Like it's
that
just
would be
really
hilarious.
weird that
Just
she's
knocking
always,
over
like,
furniture.
Yeah, she's just like in like almost a half run like all the time.
Let me check out this paper on the floor. Just
Yeah.
knocking over.
Oh yeah, you're also
bookcases
knocking everything over.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's cool that you mentioned like the actual like the fact that a lot of it's got a map functionality, but like the fact that you can navigate that whole world by just the in-game like iconography and the signs and stuff, I think is really cool because like today I was looking around one of the floors and it actually had like a smaller map that you could look at and get a basis of like where things were, and then they're very good about like the signage saying like, oh, this is how you get to this area. But looking in world as opposed to relying on bringing up a map constantly for it.
Yeah, I don't like the UI. It's kind of really annoying because it doesn't. So there's like a lot of stuff to read in that game, and you have a ton of things to read, and that's actually part of the atmosphere. If you don't want to actually read anything, you're gonna miss a lot in the game, which is also kind of annoying because you're constantly stopping. But the stuff that they have is actually kind of interesting, at least in some kind of sense, like, with all the urban myth and mythology kind of stuff. Because they do a thing that I like that fiction does sometimes in a fun way, like especially sci-fi, where they take real life events and they kind of explain it in this weird, like, off-kilter way. This is not a good example of it, but just kind of like in the Michael Bay Transformers, they're like, the reason why we have all this technology is based on them finding Megatron.
Yeah.
Right.
So that kind of stuff I actually really like. Not in that movie because there's other problems with that movie.
That's poorly executed.
Dan loves Michael Bay.
You like the
Transformers.
concept, you don't
Got
like
it.
the execution in that movie.
Got it.
But the problem with the UI is that I don't think it's very well thought out. Is that so? if you press the button right away when you pick up something, right, it's like, oh, new message or something like that. It will go right to that message. However, if you leave that and you're like, oh, I'll just read it later, like you're scrolling through like, I mean, I'm like 3 hours into the game, and like the down scroll is like a long down scroll already. I found so many things, so now you got to go find that thing to go open it up. So it's they have a little mark that it's new, but if you scroll past it, that mark goes away. It's a small little things like that. Like it doesn't ruin the game. No, obviously,
right?
It's a cool game. It's just like a small little thing.
But it's honestly, I feel the same way about that kind of stuff. Like where
just put it on the top,
or I mean, just like the fact that there's so much to grab that it kind of pulls you out constantly when you're looking for that stuff. It was the same, like, I mean, I hate to go back to Alan Wake again, but that's how I felt frustrated in that game too, because there were so many collectibles that I always felt like I was doing the old JRPG thing where I'm running along the edge of the world constantly looking to see if I missed something, trying to find
the thing though with this game is that they actually have those icons really far out.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you enter a room, you see everything you can interact with.
Yeah.
And after I stopped like running against the wall, after I realized that, like now it's a lot faster because I'm not constantly searching everything. As soon as I get into a room, like you can see something from
the other side of the room.
A good distance away that you'll see like a little interaction kind of thing.
So it pays to look in the room, but not necessarily. You don't have to run around the perimeter of every room just looking for stuff. But it is, like I said, it's that constant desire because there's so much lore in there that I want to find it all. That you keep getting like those stutter stops where you're like trying to explore and get into the atmosphere, but it's like, oh, but I want to read this because it looks cool, or this is a telephone recording or a video that I want to watch. So, no, it's like that game looks great. But as I was telling, I think I told Chris, and I've mentioned it, I get a weird hitching whenever I exit the menu, like a half-second stutter, like where it just doesn't react to anything, and I don't know why, but it drives me nuts. And I'm not running that game on Ultra. I'm actually just running it on high, but I'm also running it at 2K resolution as opposed to 1080. So I don't know if that's causing it or not. Probably. Time to get a new computer, boys.
Anyway, John, you forgot to talk about some games at PAX. I went to the other side of the world to avoid PAX completely, and now you're bleeding into my life again.
Sorry.
Thanks, PAX.
It was because
you love it.
Because Chris was only there for Saturday, Sunday. I had Friday and Monday to explore on my own. I did only spend a few hours there on Monday because I was beat. But I did actually get to see a couple things that we didn't talk about. I did get to play Indivisible on the floor. That was the first thing I went for.
Indivisible.
That's a pretty cool game. Did you back that one, Chris? Or is that a Kickstarter game?
No, I did not back it. It was a Kickstarter game. I think it went to Indiegogo after that or something like that.
It's pretty good. I like the fact that it's like a turn-based combat system, but each of the characters in your party is mapped to a face button.
Yep.
And they have a certain number of action points per character that they can do. So you're apparently supposed to figure out like how to combo all that stuff together based on pressing the buttons in rhythm. It seemed like a long demo, so long that they actually like kicked me off at one point. They're like, we got to cycle people out, because I must have been on there for a good 20-25 minutes. But the navigation stuff seems pretty cool. It's a little finicky.
Still a platformer in the...
Yeah, it's still like a platformer. There's like there's powers and stuff to help you navigate.
Yep.
Story seemed pretty neat. World building seemed good from what I played. Then I finished another lap of the Indie Mega Booth and got to play Backbone, which was the noir detective game where you're a raccoon.
Did you guys read the post about that Kotaku wrote about that?
I saw it posted in the Discord. I had not gotten the chance to read it yet.
Why don't you inform
us
about
know.
The Kotaku?
So they were originally building. So this team of, I think it's 3 people, were originally building a sci-fi game, similar mechanics. And then they were on a Skype call together, and apparently some raccoons got into the trash on somebody's porch.
All right.
Yeah.
So he grabbed his trumpet and started blowing the trumpet at the raccoons to scare them away. Came back.
As you do.
As you do.
Yeah.
Came back to the call, and told everybody what just happened. And then they just did a random world building exercise of like, wouldn't it be weird if the raccoon was like a bad guy collecting garbage? And they're like, and then there'd be another raccoon who's a private eye, and they built from that. It was a very interesting origin story, and it made me like the game even more. And the way it looked was awesome.
Looks great.
So, did you play it?
Yes. No, I
Okay.
played it. I sat down and played like a good 15 minutes of what they had up. I didn't finish the demo. But yeah, it's a noir detective story with raccoons, and they're also thought of as lesser in the society. So they're frowned upon, raccoons, by other animals, because they're all animals in society. It's all anthropomorphized creatures. But yeah, you're trying to track down a lead on somebody, and like you end up, walking down the street, talking to a bunch of people, making a contact with somebody to get you into a nightclub, and then you actually talk to a few people in the nightclub. One of them is a proprietor, and it seems like you can kind of screw up some conversations, but it doesn't look like it blocks you from what I've seen. Like you'll eventually find a way to get around it. But the dialogue was really funny. It was well written, and it looks gorgeous. So I'm looking forward to that one whenever it comes out.
Yeah.
I then sauntered up to the 6th floor to play a couple other things. I got to play that new SteamWorld Dig game, which is basically Downwell, or inspired by Downwell. Except you're digging. You're not just constantly
The expanded SteamWorld universe.
Yep.
They're just making a different game, but basing it on SteamWorld.
Dig Dug?
Shovel Knight. This is Shovel Knight Dig.
Oh.
So it's the Shovel Knight, and he's digging down.
Huh. Didn't see
it's
that
not
coming.
SteamWorld.
No, it's Shovel Knight Dig. Did I say SteamWorld? If I
you
did,
said SteamWorld.
apologies.
Okay.
Because I like that game a lot. But no, it's Shovel Knight Dig.
Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight Dig, which is a Downwell style game.
So Shovel Knight is in Downwell now.
He's making a Downwell.
He's in
style
everything.
Game. Yeah.
Should be in Madden.
The other game that they had at the same booth
Didn't see that coming.
as the Shovel Knight Dig was a game called Cyber Shadow, which reminded me a little bit of The Messenger, but it seemed like it was more of a straightforward platformer than a weird
Oh, so there's no
homage.
twist.
That I could see. There could be something that comes up.
Of course.
Controlled well, had good music. I played it on a Switch. I have no idea when that's specifically coming out, but it looks pretty cool. And then the last thing I specifically remember playing was I actually got my hands on Streets of Rage 4 because they had a demo there, and that is a beat 'em up. It looks pretty cool. The animations of the characters are really good. It plays like a Streets of Rage game. They've introduced, in addition to the moves that take away your health, they've got super special moves that you can find pickups for.
Super special.
Yeah, the bazooka move that the cop would come and shoot the bazooka. Is that in 2 that I remember?
That's in 1.
That's in 1? Okay.
Yeah.
Similar to that.
You call the police, and then the police drive up, and then they shoot a bazooka.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
True to life.
So what was the main... Is it Axel is the main character that I'm thinking of?
Yes.
So he was who I played as.
Axel, and then there's Adam,
Yeah.
and then there's the lady, and then there's the roller skate kid.
So they had a female character who was
Then-
supposed to be
then
new.
in 3 there was a kangaroo.
Yep, I heard
And
about
then
that.
an old man. And then there was Max, who was big guy. Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage.
Did you feel the rage?
So yeah, it played
Whoa.
no.
Absolutely. Yeah, raging.
It plays well. The only thing that's weird about playing games like this is that I always feel like all of any beat 'em up nowadays should have the ability to dash or run when you double tap one of the directions. This doesn't have that. You are literally walking everywhere. And it feels slow. It feels like something that I don't know why they decided not to do something like that, but it feels like something you should be able to do, because dash attacks were something that was integrated into beat 'em ups in the 90s, and the fact that it doesn't have something like that is a little striking. But the characters all looked really good. The artwork looked good. It flowed really well.
All right.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what that turns into, because I'm I'm
I'll beat
not
'em up.
the biggest Streets of Rage fan. I only have nostalgia based on other friends exposing me to those games later in life.
I don't think it's going to turn into anything other than what
than-
it is.
Yeah.
I don't. I was hoping that game is going to be something different. I don't think is the thing. I don't think that's what they're going for.
No, and I just, like I said, that the running thing really threw me off. Like, it made me think that this is a game from a bygone era with just a new coat of paint on it. So
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
I think
kind
that's
of-
what
kind
that,
of it,
well,
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
it, that's what that's supposed to be.
yeah, I don't know. I just oof.
All right, Chris. Tell me about the creature in the well.
Yeah, that came out on the Game Pass.
Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, so I
Hashtag
Is this a
installed
horror
it.
game?
No,
Is this a indie game where I walk around and then collect memorabilia of my family?
no,
Is it
Is
a
this
puzzle
an
platform?
online MMO?
no. Do you want me to tell you? You're gonna keep guessing? I
Okay,
don't.
is this a platformer?
No.
Is this a Metroidvania?
No.
Okay, fine. I've run out of. That's all the genres,
Oh,
Chris.
no, you forgot
There's
the
no
key
more-
one.
Oh yeah, text-based adventure.
No.
One more.
Full motion video adventure game.
All right,
No.
one more.
Action RPG Diablo style.
One more.
Close.
Action
That's not-
RPG Borderlands style.
It usually is It usually is. It says light at the end of it.
Oh, roguelike. Is this a roguelike?
No.
What the fuck is this game?
So Creature in the Well is an isometric overhead view.
Zaxxon.
Dungeon crawl, but you don't really. You're not collecting stuff. And then it has
What?
pinball mechanics.
Oh, so it's that Yoshi's Island game that came out last year.
But
I will
instead
not
of
have
being
you
2D,
disparage Yakuza
yeah,
Island
Yakuza
Express.
Island Express was wonderful. Everybody should play that.
Also
Kind
on
of,
Game
kind of,
Pass.
sort of. That's right. I forgot about that.
So
You're-
it's a overhead pinball action adventure game.
Yes, that's about right.
Is there a story?
Yes. The story goes, it's sometime in the future,
Spoilers.
and everything is covered by deserts, and there is an
Also, it's true to life.
facts. Yeah.
Facts.
There's a giant mountain, and there inside the mountain there was a giant power.
What is Creature in the Well? No, sorry, I'm not gonna steal that bit.
Yeah. And so you are a repair robot, and you are charged with maintaining these machines. For whatever reason, you're the only one left, so you make your way to the mountain, and then you start charging up parts. And the way you charge it is you enter a room. So it's like kind of like the first Zelda in a way, where a room is part of the dungeon, and then you can leave the room by going through a door, and then it goes into that next room. You start in a room. There is a little well that has an energy ball, and you hit it, and then it bounces off of bumpers, and as those bumpers get hit by the energy, they charge up, and then you're kind of filling a kind of your wallet full of energy, and then you use that energy to unlock doors. So you have to collect a certain amount of energy, like 5,000 energy points, then the door will unlock because you give it 5,000 energy points, and you
So you're
continue.
playing a sequence of pinball screens.
Pretty much. They go very quick, so you stay within a room, 15 to 30 seconds usually. They get harder progressively, so as you get deeper into a part of the dungeon, some of the stuff you run into actually will shoot them back at you and cause damage. And then there's a little bit of strategy because you're not just randomly swinging. You can use one attack to hit the power ball and have it bounce around, and then you use the other one to hold it in place and charge it, and then you'll add a little bit more energy to it, and as it hits stuff and bounces, it'll charge up the bumpers even more.
There's gear in this too, right? Like based on those two different attacks.
Yes.
Gears?
Gear, it's just
Of
different types of...
war?
No,
You
that's
have
not a thing
So
anymore.
you've got a silver sword, and then you've got your other sword, your steel sword.
Oh yeah.
So you got to kill the monsters with the silver
Silver-
sword.
Well, no,
Silver's for bumpers.
I'm using a frying pan
Okay.
and
Oh,
then
so
a
there's a
red
PUBG.
laser sword of some kind. There's also a baseball bat. Like
The
it's all
deadliest of
weird
combos.
stuff. But if you do really well in a room and overcharge it, it'll open like a secret pathway. So it because as you put your energy in this wallet, you can start unlocking doors further along without having to actually engage with the room you're in. And then it pays off to engage in all the different rooms because you'll end up unlocking these different paths. At the end of each dungeon, you do kind of a multi-stage battle with the creature in the well. And so you do a sequence of bumpers and energy ball hits. The elevator goes, and then you do it again with a different setup, and that's basically, you're doing that, I think, 5 or 6 times. I'm only halfway through. I've beat 3 dungeons. It's fun. I've only been doing it for probably 3 hours.
How long have you been doing it?
3 hours, so an hour per level or so.
So it's Arkanoid plus Zelda plus Sinistar, because you fight the guy at the end.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
probably not far.
So it's a horror-themed pinball game. I like it.
A little bit. Yeah, it's enjoyable. People should try it out if they have Game Pass. I don't know how much it costs on Steam or anything else. I
What
think
is
it's on Switch.
Nibblity?
Nibblity?
Nibblity, is that how we say it?
Nibblity, yep.
Yeah, it's kind of
It sounds like a slur.
Jesus. I mean, coming out of your mouth, I guess.
Okay.
But
What is
according to the
Nibblity?
developers we talked to at PAX,
Yeah, it's an augmented reality kind of pet,
Jesus.
like Pokemon-ish game.
Oh, this is that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you saw the screenshots I was posting earlier today.
Yeah.
So you have little animals that you can place in the world and hang out with you.
How do you find these animals?
They're
You
given
scan
to
barcodes?
you. Oh no, you scan your location. So
So it's like Monster Rancher.
are you just every game is
Yeah.
It's Dark
like
Souls.
it's Dark Souls-esque. No, it's little cute animals. You feed them shit. It's
Okay.
creative because the little animals are fun, and it's AR, so you can place them wherever you want in the room. They kind of just hang out, and you're supposed to feed them. And the interesting part of that is you can scan normal objects in your location, like a spoon, like a phone, like a laptop, like a pizza.
A horse.
And then you scan it.
Yeah.
It gives you more food to feed the animal. And then the animal will just hang out because there's a timer on the animal.
Can
So if
you-
you don't feed it, it goes away.
Can you feed humans to your animals?
Parts of humans. I scanned my shoe. I fed him a shoe.
Yeah, the Red Bull like clothing.
Yes.
Excuse me? What?
Yeah.
Red Bull.
No, your shoe is. You said parts of humans. I scanned my shoe.
Well, it's on my foot. I didn't scan a foot.
Chris, we need to have a talk later. Material possessions do not define you.
You're not your fucking khakis.
I am what I own.
So it's cool.
It's fun. It's just a
What's
cute
the point
little
of
thing.
it, though?
That's-
I mean, that sounds like a
there's
like
not
a very
really.
very condescending question. I didn't mean.
What
it
is
that
the
way.
point? It's just fun.
Okay.
It's mindless
Cool.
fun. That's all.
It's Tamagotchis in AR.
A little bit.
Like, do you fight the
Nope.
things? There's
Nope.
no trainer.
You unlock more. That's all.
Oh, so it's Tamagotchi. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, tell me about you. Tell me about this Apple stuff.
Skip right to the good stuff.
Yeah.
The good stuff, quote unquote.
Oh,
Apple event.
Yeah.
was it not that good? What happened? I
depends
just
on-
saw 3 cameras. Then I saw a picture of a model with like 40 cameras on her,
Yeah.
and it was like, this is like the Apple iPhone because
Yeah.
it's internet humor.
I feel like we've hit a point where phones are just kind of diminishing returns on the way the tech is advancing.
Yeah.
And because 5G is not here yet,
Forever.
who knows? Because it's shortwave. Anyways, we can get into that.
Range is short.
Yeah.
I was in a country where there was still Huawei.
Huawei?
Or Huawei? Huawei? How do you say
Yeah,
the
the
Chinese?
the
Oh, the
Chinese
Chi-
company
okay.
that's
Yeah,
not
you know the
allowed
biggest cell phone company
I,
in the
I,
world.
I thought you were referring to a G technology that's older than 5G, 4G,
Oh,
whatever.
One of the largest
Huawei,
cell phone
yeah, yeah,
companies
no,
in the
I
entire world,
understand
banned
that.
by the United States.
Everyone's
a
OEM.
soft band.
Yeah, exactly. Not allowed here anymore.
They said that they're going to license their 5G technology to whoever in order to get around the Trump shit.
Is that really what they said?
That they said that
I
today.
did not know that.
That they're willing to license it out to whoever.
Ever.
Although I don't know how well.
I mean-
that's
I mean,
actually
they're
going
one
to
of
be.
like 2-3 companies that's
Yeah.
actually making that shit. So,
Anyway, Apple.
Apple
Tell me
event.
about Apple.
What do you want to talk about with this Apple event, Chris?
I was gonna say the two notes I put down. The new phone is okay. If you have like a 5 or a 6, it's probably worth an upgrade.
Wow.
But I'm on an X and I don't have any planned upgrade to this thing. It doesn't do much for me, and
I'm on an 8, and I have seriously contemplated now just switching over to seeing if I can find a smaller Android phone.
Windows Phone.
well, John's been on a small phone kick for a while, so
Windows Phone.
Tiny hands need tiny
that's
phones.
not a thing anymore. I actually was talking to somebody at work. Apparently, Microsoft is now selling Android phones in their Windows stores.
Probably.
Yeah, they're incentivizing people to move to them.
Yeah, we don't. The Windows phones are dead.
Yes, they don't exist, and they're incentivizing people to buy the Galaxy Notes
10.
because I don't know if you guys saw this. You're able to make phone or texts to your Windows laptop, desktop now using the Android
Message.
the Notes. Yeah, so you can tie back, kind of what Apple does with their
the-
iMacs
and the iMessage system.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So they're trying to compete with that without using their own OS because it doesn't exist anymore. The other thing about the Apple event that was more video game centric was the Apple Arcade subscription.
Yep. Launches later this month.
Yeah, $5 a month,
Yeah.
and there are some interesting names on there.
yeah.
Sayonara Wild Hearts is on that list. Manifold
Packs.
Garden.
Tell me about Sayonara Wild Hearts since we're here.
Okay.
The game's so good.
In the middle of the Apple
yeah,
Arcade
exactly.
minute.
Apple Arcade's interesting. I don't know if it's worth $5 a month, but I might do the trial.
What?
Sayonara Wild Hearts.
God damn it.
However,
We did talk about it at the PAX event.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I played that twice because
Oh, so it was announced for September 19th.
Yes, the day before Zelda and the day before.
Give me the
Untitled
30-second
Goose Game.
executive spiel. What is Sayonara Wild Hearts?
You're better at this than I am, John.
Give me the
Sayonara
second
Wild
version.
Hearts is a rhythm-based runner. It has different musical styles based on the levels that you're playing, and it has a really beautiful aesthetic. And I am looking forward to playing it on the 19th because it charmed me completely in the 2 times I played it at the PAX.
It starts with Claire de Lune. It sounds really nice.
I asked for the summary. I didn't ask for your opinion. The elevator has changed. I'm getting off. I'm an executive.
I gave you the pitch in the first 5 seconds.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Executive.
It's going to be a cool game. I'm going to buy it for the Switch. Can't wait.
All right. Let's see. I guess Yakuza 7 got announced, was it last week? That
Yeah.
they are going to turn-based combat.
JRPG.
They are doing a JRPG thing.
It's Chrono Trigger-esque, where you battle in the world,
Yeah.
and then you go into a battle mode.
Don't know how I feel about that.
I am psyched.
I'm conflicted.
So the thing that I took from it in terms of my interpretation of what they're doing is Judgment took the Yakuza formula, and it did apparently so well that they're now considering doing a sequel for that.
Yeah.
And so since that type of game is going to continue to exist, they're trying to remix the Yakuza stuff. And it's a whole new character, a whole new area, so you're not going to be really rehashing much of anything that already exists. And they've told the story 6+ times. So they're trying something new, and I think it's awesome.
I'm probably going to end up playing it when it comes to PC. Same thing, I'm not going to touch Judgment or those Yakuza remakes until they come to PC at this point. I played all of Zero on the PS4, and I went too many load times. And so
Fair.
never again.
Fair.
I am going to wait for PC ports of all these, which seems like they're finally getting to the point where they realize that that's a good market for these as well.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll have a shorter lead time on Judgment. I hope we hear something this year about that before the end of the year, about it coming to PC. And then I hope that the Yakuza ones also we hear before the end of the year coming to PC.
Yeah,
Same.
It's pretty crazy. It's a 20-something year franchise, and they're like basically doing
clean slate.
the first majorly new thing. I
Yeah.
guess it would be as if Madden became solely a text-based management sim. That's kind of like
NFL
maybe not on
Manager.
par, but kind of NFL Manager, which
Yeah.
they did.
They actually, I forgot about that. They did that for a while.
for a couple years.
That was bad.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
As long as they keep their weird like mix of good, serious,
I'm pretty sure you don't have to
Yakuza.
worry about that part.
Yes. They-
but with the new character, like you're not sure like how the story for that's gonna land. with
It's
the new
basically
Yakuza
Dark
character.
Souls now,
Oh,
just
okay.
in Tokyo.
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
No, it's not. That's not it at all.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I want the next one to be co-op MMO. Anyways, So the Dreamcast celebrated 20 years this week.
Yeah.
Monday.
99.99.
The
Happy
Dreamcast.
birthday.
Wasn't that was a $199 console too, right? Wasn't it $200?
I don't remember.
I thought it was more than that because like
More than that?
I don't remember at the start. I
yeah.
bought it for $150 used,
I think I got it for $100.
and then the next week they dropped it down to 99 new, because then they announced that they are going bye bye.
There used to be a LAN cafe up in my parents' neighborhood, and we'd go play Quake there, and they sold some used video games. And the month that they said they were discontinuing the Dreamcast, dude was just like, I need to just get rid of this thing. Like, nobody's gonna buy it. And I was like, I'm buying all of it. So with my first job money, I bought Dreamcast and like 4 games and an extra controller and a VMU.
$199, $99.99.
Really?
Yeah.
It was a $200 console.
Man.
When I bought the Dreamcast used, my girlfriend was like, "How'd you have all that money to buy that?" And guess what? I kept the Dreamcast after college, and I didn't keep the girlfriend.
Yeah.
No, she didn't keep me.
This is a better
Anyway,
investment. Oh boy.
So Dreamcast was pretty awesome.
Dan,
Probably
top 3 games for the Dreamcast.
NFL 2K, NFL 2K1, NBA 2K1.
No Project Justice, needs Power Stone.
No Skies of Arcadia.
Fantasy Star
no
Online.
Grandia 2.
Nope. NFL 2K, NFL 2K1, and NBA 2K1.
You're wrong. That's okay.
Chris, top 3 games on the
Those are
Dreamcast.
the best NFL game ever made, the second best NFL game ever made, and the best NBA game ever made.
I had 2K1 on the Xbox.
Chris,
It
your
was
top
very
3 Dreamcast games. Go.
good. Yeah, Fantasy Star Online. Project Justice, and what else did I say?
Power Stone?
I like Power Stone.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about Blue Thunder or Blue Stinger?
Blue Stinger is the one
No.
you're thinking of.
I mean, yeah.
No, I'm thinking of the flying game where there's no combat because you're just flying in formation
I don't remember.
because
that.
you're a part of an air show. Oh yeah, that game had all kinds of. That system had all kinds of stuff. Or the 24 Le Mans
Yeah.
racing where you could do 24 hours.
Did they have a
completely.
Sega Rally Championship on the Dreamcast?
I don't remember.
They had the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
The greatest thing about the Dreamcast was when you discovered how easy it was to pirate games on it.
I did that for yes.
And contributing to its downfall.
And it also had really good fighting games.
Oh yeah, it
Yes.
had some of the best fighting games. It had the 2 best sports games ever made.
Marvel's
Not the
Capcom
best,
2.
not the best baseball game ever made.
No, we don't talk about the baseball games. they
But
made.
there hasn't been a good baseball game since probably
RBI
Base
baseball.
Wars.
Ken Griffey Jr. RBI baseball.
Yeah, Cal Ripken Jr. baseball on the Super
No, what's
Nintendo.
World Series baseball for the Saturn?
Oh yeah, World Series baseball 2 is pretty rad, especially if you're the Cleveland Indians.
Or the
Because
White
Albert
Sox,
Bell
right?
was still juicing.
Wasn't the White
They
Sox?
were-
White Sox is pretty good, but the Cleveland Indians was still broken.
Yeah,
'Cause
Dan.
Kenny Lofton he could steal every base. There was nothing you could do about it.
This is crazy. Dan has shown this to me. That game was broken. The Indians were
That game
not
is
fair.
so awesome. And then the follow-up was actually really awesome because they introduced heat zones, which is I think the first game to have heat zones in the.
When they
The
started
pitching.
doing that
Yeah.
in baseball, yeah, that was a.
But yeah, back to the Dreamcast. I mean, it had the coolest Resident Evil at that time, probably until Resident Evil 4.
Code Veronica.
So that was a number of years, before
Yeah.
4. I mean, 3 was sucky, and
I
Nemesis
beat it, but
was
it wasn't
sucky.
good.
It's funny because I was watching the GB Dreamcast stream, and they made a comment about playing fighting games on that controller that I always made at the time, which was that D-pad tore your thumbs up something fierce when you were trying to play fighting games with that.
Yeah.
It had the best voice activated game of all time.
Seaman.
It's not good,
No.
but voice activated games are not good.
No.
It had probably the best fishing game on a console of all time.
And the best part is that controller served dual functions.
Yeah.
You could play Soul Calibur with that thing.
It also had. I mean, it had the second best peripheral of all time, which is that fishing rod thing. It had the best one of all time, which is the Samba de Amigo
The maracas.
maracas.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was awesome.
Dreamcast
And it was
was
the
great.
first. It was the first console to really have online play. I
Yeah.
used to play NFL 2K1 online a bunch.
You had
Fantasy Star
Dan
Online.
he had the dial-up adapter
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
Dreamcast.
I didn't
Not
have,
even the broadband.
I didn't have
adapter.
broadband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I plugged that into the school dial-up thing and played NFL 2K1 online, which everybody would pick the Atlanta Falcons and then put Tim Dwight as quarterback because he was the fastest guy in the
Just
game.
Run the ball.
He was a kick returner who returned one kick for a touchdown in a Super Bowl, I believe, and you would just run with him. It didn't matter.
Couldn't catch him.
Yeah. That was also the football game that I played probably the most seasons in one.
I remember you telling me.
I probably played maybe about 8 full seasons.
I remember you telling me at one point you got to the point where it was just making up random names for.
Oh, I got to the point.
Stuff.
It got to the point there was almost nobody in the league that was a real person.
Yeah.
That's how many games. That's how many seasons I
That's
played.
so good.
Yeah, because I had Michael Vick for a while on the
Ron Mexico.
on the Washington Redskins. Sorry for slurs. That is the name of the Washington football team.
Yes.
And he actually had to retire because he was just too old. And I had my man Sylvester Cruz, baby, won 4 Super Bowls in a row. Sylvester Cruz, got him in the second round. I also had a guy. I had a running back. His name was George Bush.
Mm-hmm.
He was a black man.
Oh yes.
And he was a great running back. I am not lying.
That Black Bush.
That actually happened.
I believe you.
His name was George Bush.
I love. It's basically a Key and Peele skit.
Chris,
Yeah.
favorite memory from the Dreamcast?
I as we've been having this conversation, I just remember playing Rival Schools, Project Justice. I played a ton of Rival Schools.
That
for
game
some
should
reason.
not have been how crazy that fighting game was because of all of the weird characters that you had. Like Street Fighter, SNK characters, weird, but not like this level of weird where it's like, oh, we've got the nurse, we've got the guy who's on the swim team, the volleyball player, the soccer player.
Here's a boxing club.
Yeah.
And you got to pick 3 of them.
Yep.
That's so good.
John, what was your favorite Dreamcast memory?
Playing the fighting games in your guys' apartment with Lou and all of us, like on your Dreamcast, where you had basically a binder.
The Dreamcast was still around. The girlfriend wasn't.
A binder filled with like, hey, look, we've got all these games, and it was the best use of our friend Horace, because he would just come back from Vancouver with discs and went, hey, I got all these games, and we're like, okay, let's play some.
My favorite Dreamcast memory is also with Horace Chang, and we stayed up all night to finish Grandia 2, which was strange, but yeah, and then I went to class. It was from like 10 to 7 in the morning. It was like a fever dream. And also, actually, I did that also with Shenmue. I would play that all night. I would play Shenmue.
How did I
night.
forget about Shenmue?
Yeah.
Because Shenmue's not a great game.
I have
in
Shenmue
hindsight.
and Shenmue 2 for the Dreamcast still.
Yeah, it's not a great game. It was a great experience. If I
Yes.
could play Shenmue for the first time, like at that exact moment again, I would. Like in 1999 or 2000,
Yes,
whenever I played
yes.
it, before all these other games came out, then I
Yes.
knew what a good game really was and how bad Shenmue really is. But when you first played that, it felt like you were playing something that was so new and novel that you were willing to forego
It was
all of the other bad stuff.
It was fascinating watching Dan play that game, because we would watch Dan play that game for hours, and he would be like, all right, time to start my day. Here we go. Am I gonna buy something out of the capsule machine this morning? Yeah, I'll treat myself. I'll buy something out of the capsule machine.
All right.
And then the best was the your forklift racing skills, because you would get very competitive about your forklift racing.
Wasn't anything else to do in that game. Moving on from the Dreamcast to what the fuck is Death Stranding? Apparently, we know a little bit more because TGS
Okay.
had a 45-minute on-stage demo with Kojima, and it's all in Japanese. But if you put on the auto translate, you actually also don't understand what they're saying.
I saw
It's pretty
I
crazy.
saw the screen caps from Twitter that were quite good.
But
It's a balance simulator.
it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the footage yet. so-
Harmonica river crossings.
So yeah, they showed actual like gameplay, like for real. Like this is you're setting.
They
up
showed
for
like
the
a long
mission.
sequence of you.
Yeah, you're setting up for the mission. You're a delivery man. That's exactly what that game is. You're a delivery guy, and you
you're
walk
Amazon Prime.
You walk from one end to the other, and how and where you put your boxes or your
Matters.
things matters.
L2 and
What
R2
you're
to
also
maintain your
bringing,
balance.
because you also have to bring other kinds of supplies. So you have to bring extra shoes because they break and stuff like that. The baby is there to see other monsters.
I believe it's called a BB, Dan.
It's a baby.
Bridge baby. BB.
The BB is there to see other monsters. And apparently there's like an online Dark Souls-esque component where like other players can leave things.
Yeah.
And you can leave things for other players.
Yeah, you unlock packages and stuff for other people.
Oh yeah, what
Or from other
what
people.
did I see you post in the Discord today? The spray to open the packages. What was it called?
A
Opening
repair spray
Repair
in order
spray.
to open other players'
Uh-huh.
packages.
They're damaged and you have to repair them.
Okay.
Sponsored by Monster Energy Drink and FedEx.
Yeah, because you can drink a Monster Energy drink
To recover your stamina.
It looks absolutely fascinating.
I
It's
cannot
kind of
wait.
like Yakuza. What the fuck is going on?
Yes, that is.
I said it right from the start. It's Hideo Kojima trolling all of the quote unquote gamers with a Z, saying, "All right, motherfuckers, play my walking
I think
sim."
he's too earnest to be a trolling. Like, I think this is him kind of making... I mean, he's not going to make a game that he's already made. He's going to make this... I'm not saying it's going to be good. I'm just saying this is... I mean, yeah.
So you have to hold L2 and R2 to balance
Mm-hmm.
constantly.
Well, not
or
constantly.
No,
if he's
you
kind of
start
leaning-
falling.
Okay.
Yeah, falling a direction.
I really want
Can you
to
stack the
It's like
packages to the sky?
grinding, you know,
I
in a
can't
skateboarding
wait.
game.
to see the reaction to that game.
Yeah, I can't.
Like,
I'm.
I literally can't wait. I want to know when that game is out in public to the masses, like what everybody's take is. Like, I actually want to know.
We'll have them. We'll have takes.
Lastly, in game news, there was a Kotaku article talking about esports coming to the Olympics, and it's kind of people trying to get esports into the Olympic Games.
Finally, my
We-
Peggle skills will come to use.
It's a strange thing because whenever we talk about esports, we're talking about not an actual game that is, I guess, publicly owned. I don't know how to describe like
Something in the
a
public
game.
domain.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know how to describe a game
Yeah.
of basketball, right, or football. Those rules and things like that. Those are the actual game itself just belongs to the ether. Like, it's just a thing
Yes.
that people can just play. However, if you want to play Overwatch, you need to buy Overwatch,
Yep.
presumably, or have it gifted to you. And you
Fortnite
can
in
only,
the Olympics,
and
free to
you can
play.
only play it on BattleNet, and that's how that works. And it kind of seems kind of crazy for Olympic sport to be based on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not even arguing what a sport is or is not, and all those kind of things. If bowling is a sport, then anything can be a sport.
America's Army, the esport game. Everybody
Yeah.
can play it and get recruited.
Yeah, it's a strange thing to have a copy. So
It's like a sponsor. It's like having an Olympic event that is sponsored by a corporation as opposed to something
not
that
even
is-
sponsored.
Yeah, it's
wholly
you're
owned.
You're
Yeah,
playing
like-
somebody's IP.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can't say that about a sport.
Yeah.
Like you said, basketball, hockey. It's
And-
not an IP.
And to further that, like, I mean, it would have to be a separate esports event for each kind of game.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, if you're thinking about esport games that could possibly be popular enough to be Olympic games, you'd be
league.
like Dota and League. Like, so which one gets in?
Mhm.
Do you have a Dota and
Right.
League medal event?
Well,
And then Overwatch?
Yep.
And then what happens when they
Counter-Strike.
make Overwatch 2? Which I don't know if they're actually ever going to do, but like,
yeah.
yeah.
I think the in the conversation around it was one, they're gonna have some esports at the Asian Games. So, I don't remember if
makes
it's preceding
sense.
or after the Olympics,
That makes
but
sense. You like
I
coming
think
just back from Asia.
right.
The level of visibility of esports in Asia is pretty remarkable. Like, I think it's on the same level here as in like the public consciousness, because like because even in Asia, even like the places that play a lot of esports, I'm pretty sure it still stops at a certain generation or interest level. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like football or basketball where everybody knows about, certain players or things like that. But the fact that it is in newspapers and it is like in advertisements and billboards and stuff like that, like in Asia, is pretty different than over here. It's
Yeah.
more visible.
I think Street Fighter and Rocket League were the two they were talking about fielding. And a lot of it has to do with simplicity. You understand what a fighting game is. You understand what
Kinda.
Rocket League is. Well, I mean, it's one guy
Yeah.
beating up another guy, and that's the whole
I think
point.
Rocket League is actually a very good one because the game is so
it's-
straightforward.
It's soccer, but with cars.
The goal of it is very straightforward. It is put the ball in the goal
Yeah.
with your car.
Like,
Yeah.
Overwatch just has too many things, including objectives and
I think the only other two things I'd say about like esports being an Olympic sport is that one, and this is something that just cannot, that's just a part of esports, is that those things, the games, even within the games itself, but the games itself will change by generation.
Yeah.
So like the 100-meter dash is always going to be the 100-meter
yes,
dash.
they were
There's
talking
not
about
a
that.
different 100-meter dash.
yeah. Do you have a patched version of the
Yeah,
Olympics
so like
games?
training and all those kind of things change, and surface
Yep.
and shoes change, but the actual sport itself doesn't
Right.
exactly.
We're talking about the
change.
meta of the triathlon.
But I also think the other problem with the esports thing is that even the games now that are quote unquote the esports games still have tremendous problems actually codifying their what the rule set is for how a person wins the competition in some cases. Like with the I know the PUBG people had huge problems trying to get their tournaments off the ground, like the way they work.
Yeah, that's why that's never going to be.
That Fortnite seems like another one that's well, how do you really codify that other than I guess the last man standing gets all the points, whereas PUBG's got this weird gradient system based on kills and things like that.
I mean, they do have that crazy system in the decathlon and the heptathlon of all
Yeah.
the points, because
So-
at the end of the 5 days or whatever of the pentathlon, you're like, that guy's up by 800 points and he needs to get what the fuck?
So
Yeah.
do you make
can't
do you
really-
make, a, do you make
you
a
can't-
game like that? Sorry, I
you
didn't
can't
interrupt
really
you.
follow that stuff.
Do you make the PUBG just using that as the easiest example?
The
Do you
PUBG.
make that event a culmination of solos, duos, and squad games
Squad.
as your determining factor
I
for
just-
the win?
each
I
one
don't-
would be a different event. It'd be
Yeah,
the
I just
solo.
don't think PUBG would be part of it.
No, I don't think so either.
Actually, what would be really cool, what I would like, would that they would have a triathlon or pentathlon of video games.
That
They're all
would be
from a
fun.
different genre.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
similar,
And
honestly,
so you gotta the guys gotta play
Yeah.
through.
Puyo
I mean,
pop.
I know we don't actually pay
Choo
attention
choo
to it
rocket.
at PAX, but that Omegathon, that's the idea you would want. That I think would be an interesting use of video games at an event like the Olympics, where it is like that. It's like a genre spanning event where you have to actually be good at a bunch of different types of games, and you might have an idea of what type of game it is, but maybe not necessarily the title itself. So
Yeah.
it's how good you can play a platformer that's or a splatformer.
I just don't see it. I don't see the viability other than it being like a thing that they do for popularity. Because I mean, actually, the main thing that I would have against it is that one of the few great things about the Olympics is that you're always kind of butting up against history. So the 100-meter dash is that there's a history to it, and you can compare the time with somebody else's time.
Yep.
Granted, training methods and all that, blah blah blah. But when what's that guy's name? Oh, I forgot his name. Mike Powell beat Bob Beeman's long jump record, which stood for something almost 30 years. And this is a random dude out of nowhere. You're never gonna have that, because in 30 years it's not going to be Dota 2 or League of Legends.
Right.
It's going to be a different version of those games, or completely different.
So make it Tetris.
Yeah, just Tetris.
Forever
all the way.
Tetris.
Moving on, we got some media things. Me and John kind of went through a couple of seasons of things. We watched Glow Season 2 before before or season 3. Yes, thank you. We watched Glow season 3 before I left for the Philippines. What's your little take on Glow, John?
That show's really good. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it has serious moments. It is a good homage to 80s
Everything.
80s everything. And all of the actual female characters are treated with respect and the worth that they should get. Like, everybody gets their time to shine on that show.
Especially season 3 seems like they really doubled down on their characters.
Yeah, the first couple of seasons it's a lot of Alison Brie, and I can't remember the actress's name who plays Debbie.
Liberty Bell.
But it seemed like it was a lot of focus on them and then Mark Maron's character. But this season they really did, it looks like they stretched and went, okay, let's get a little more from some of these, secondary characters. And I think they did a really good job showcasing that all of these people in the show are, acting the shit out of it. So
agreed. Glow is very good. High recommendations all around. Mindhunters season 2, which me and John just finished yesterday or last night. Mindhunters is
singular. There's no S at the end, I think.
Mindhunter is a TV show about the early profilers in the FBI trying to find serial killers. So while Glow is very lighthearted with some serious parts, Mindhunters is very serious with a few lighthearted parts.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thing if you like police procedurals and those kind of things. I think season 2. This is my second time watching it through because I actually watched it before I went to the Philippines because I needed to see it before. I feel like the second time through was a lot better, and I think a lot of people's frustrations with season 2 were that they were not doing enough of the stuff that they were doing in season 1, but kind of like that they're kind of moving forward a little bit. And you still get the classic, hunting serial killers kind of thing, but it's also more open-ended. The season 1 kind of really focused on their early successes, and season 2 it's kind of a mixed bag in their success. They were not really very successful in catching, the Atlanta child murders,
which like you mentioned, that I had no idea about, zero idea about.
29?
30, wasn't it? 30? Yeah,
something like that.
It was 31 total because they
in 18 months, kids got killed in Atlanta in the 79 to 81 ish, and they arrested a guy who's I think still in jail for only for a couple of them.
2.
Yeah, and they're actually the 2 adults, they were not exactly kids, so they never really found a definitive evidence to link this guy to any of the other stuff. But so I think it's pretty good to show, not the Jodie Foster, I just know everything and I win at the end.
Yeah, these are definitely characters who are trying to develop the methodology that from all the movies that you've seen since Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
And they're fucking up along the way. Like they're basically saying, okay, we've got a framework. Let's see if we can apply it to this crime.
Yep.
And them basically throwing darts at the wall, seeing what sticks.
And I saw a couple plain movies.
Movies from Dan.
I watched I watched Infinity War and Endgame back to back, which was kind of crazy. But I had a 12-hour flight.
Yeah, you didn't. You weren't going anywhere.
Yeah, that only took half of it.
6 hours in 2 movies.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool to see it back to back. I also saw Shazam, which I liked enough, but not that much. I liked it more than almost every other DC movie I've seen.
Was it easy and breezy?
Yeah, easy and breezy. Cover girl. I also saw Long Shot, which had Charlize Theron and what's his face?
Seth
Rogen, which is actually really good.
The premise of that was it's hard what that the ads are.
Charlize Theron is the Secretary of State, and she's going to run for president. And Seth Rogen used to be babysat by her and had a crush on her when she was in childhood, obviously not while she was Secretary of State. and he becomes like a very leftist journalist, and then so they kind of bump into each other again, and then they kind of develop this thing, and then she wants him to write for her, but he's very kind of non-compromise, liberal, and she's kind of trying to be a middle of the road candidate, and so sparks happen, and then they have a fallout, and then they get back together, and everything's fine.
It's a rom-com. There we go.
I also saw Aladdin.
Oh,
The live-action Aladdin.
with Will Smith.
Yeah.
How
so
was that?
I will say that was a lot better than I thought it would be.
Okay.
Will Smith was a lot better than I thought he would be.
Okay.
I actually think he's the best part of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't think I would like that movie much if I didn't already seen the cartoon so many times, because they play fast and loose with actual plot development. I think if you didn't know a lot of the beats, you would be kind of lost a little bit, because I think the editing is kind of bad. And while some of the visuals are really cool, when you think back to some of the visuals of the actual original cartoon, they kind of fail in comparison. But I will say overall, much better than I thought it would be.
Okay.
But still not a hard recommend. Is it was it an adequate plane movie?
Fans of the genre.
Okay.
Yeah, I would probably maybe watch it again, because I like some of those songs so much, and I like musicals. So I don't know. Sometimes I watch Les Miserables YouTube clips for like fucking an hour. I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that.
So yeah. Dan's recommendation is watch Les Miserables on YouTube.
I mean, heck, even the Hugh Jackman movie is pretty good.
Yeah.
Even with Russell Crowe's not great singing.
What's the Collecting Cards podcast with Chris Harris? Actually, I know what this is, but
Do you? Well,
I mean, I know
Chris...
who. I've actually no, I haven't listened to his podcast. I've watched a bunch of his videos.
Yes, Chris Harris.
He's a bald dude, right?
Now famous for being a Top Gear host.
Yeah.
I've
actually
known,
really good.
Yeah, he's really good. I've known him for I don't know, 7-8 years.
Call him
He
on
was
the phone all the time.
no, I'd known of him.
Talks to you in a
He was
sultry British accent.
He was a Jalopnik writer. He did some Jalopnik content a long time ago for a while.
Wow.
And then he had his own YouTube channel, Chris Harris on Cars, that all those famous slow motion drift shots that made him kind of as famous as he is now.
Is he DK? Is he Drift King?
No, he's not the Drift King.
Oh.
No, that's a Japanese guy. Anyways, he is fun to listen to. He's a great host on Top Gear. So now he has a podcast with some other guy that I don't know. But Chris drives the show for the most part. They
pretty cool car podcast stuff.
Very. He has interesting opinions on cars, and he has a wealth of experience in driving many cars, and he's a bit of a car nerd. His latest episode has Tiff Needell, who's of Top Gear and Fifth Gear fame. That was a really good episode to listen to today. But even some of the lesser known people that you'd see or hear on the podcast, Chris Harris just does a great job of interviewing and talking with people, so it's a fun listen.
I highly recommend the clips where there is a extended clip of him driving rally cars in, I think, Italy, and he's not driving it. Actual rally car drivers or old school rally car drivers are driving them, and there's a couple points where he actually gets extremely scared. And you could actually see the fear on his face. This is a guy who drives cars for a living, but put into a seat with a rally car racer with like an old school 80s crazy rally car with like no safety features, and that guy and that old man is basically taking it at 100%, or it seems like 100%. Chris Harris, cool as can be, looks terrified.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which makes you really appreciate how talented those guys are. All right, couple small things. Let's stay on cars. The new Land Rover Defender. Why do you care about this? Is it because it has a humongous optional pillar?
That's a thing too.
Optional what?
So one of what is it? A C pillar or whatever?
Yeah.
One of the the pillars of your car. Like the stuff that connects to the roof.
Okay.
Right? That kind of gives you a blind spot.
Yeah.
So there's an optional one that you can put there for decoration on this new Land Rover. And if you buy the smaller one, right? It's still a 4-door one, but the people is it still 4 doors? The smaller one?
No. Only the bigger one's 4-door.
Okay, so the smaller one that's a 2-door but 4-seater. right? Which
Uh-huh.
all those old stuff used to be. But basically, that pillar is now in the mirror of the rear passengers, so you can't actually see outside the rear passenger window.
It's an option.
It's an option
But why?
because they say it looks cooler. That's literally what their justification
Does it look
is.
cooler, Chris?
Not really.
I wouldn't. I don't think so.
But what's with the Land Rover Defender?
I just
outside of-
so the car had been made until 2000 some. I can't remember. It was a very, very long running car. They stopped producing it, and then this is kind of the interpretation. And I mean, from like the 60s, it's kind of like the Mercedes G-Wagon or the Jeep.
Mhm.
It's just an old school off-road car that they had made forever. They stopped making it, and then this is the follow-up. And the follow-ups to classic cars like that, like the VW Beetle, stuff like that, it's always big news. It's weird because they went from a car that had the 2 axles at the front and a chassis, and then you put the body on top of the chassis, which is very old school, to a fully unibody aluminum chassis.
I believe it's pronounced chassis.
And
Or
aluminium. Yeah, I'm not. That's not me.
Yeah, we're on
Thanks,
the side
John.
of the pond. We're on the
Uh,
side of the pond. We say often, not often.
But it's still-
It's herb, not herb.
oh man, you're a herb. Capable off-roader, aluminum bodied and not solid axles. It's a huge departure. Going to come with a 4-cylinder, 297 horsepower, or a 6-cylinder, 3-liter, 394 horsepower.
Faster.
2 doors and 4 doors. Yeah, it's just a really interesting take. And then you take in the C-pillar thing that Dan was just talking about. It's a very odd thing, and it feels very British. So
Stands to reason. They're a British company.
yes, nothing quite makes sense.
See, John. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your A pillars are the ones on your front windshield on
Okay.
the side.
Uh-huh.
Your B pillars are the ones between the front door and the
And the
rear
rear
door.
door, okay,
And
okay.
the C pillars are the one.
These are all correct things.
A, B, C.
So yeah, it's cool. It's weird. I don't know if I actually like it or not, but it's cool. It's cool to see the take on what was, a forever car, now coming out again. And yeah, that's the news for car stuff this week, because I'll always have something for car stuff.
Car Minute. Unique cars
Car drops.
with Chris.
It's just
With
Yeah.
Chris Harris Emery.
that's not my middle name.
All right. Lastly, question of the week. What did Papa Dan give you from Manila with Toyas?
Toyas. I got some Tomy cars. I got a Civic Type R and a 2020 Nissan GTR.
Wow.
1/62nd scale.
What an awesome guy this Dan is.
Dan is a nice person.
What kind of Toya did Uncle Dan give you, John?
I got an anime guy from anime. His name is Spike Spiegel. I've heard he's in a good anime, but I've only watched about 8 episodes of it. So I don't
Oh
know how
my
it ends.
god.
Yeah. I had the whole
He
series.
only
on
watched
Blu-ray.
like 8 of Trigun.
I thought he was.
I'm not lying.
I
I'm not
actually
gonna-
thought John was like watched the whole thing. That's why I bought him.
It's
the
cool.
He watched 8 Cowboy
I'm
Bebop.
gonna tell you, he's a cool character.
Of course he's cool, but the ending is what makes him the coolest.
Okay.
Same
I
with
need to get there.
Trigun. You
All
need
right.
to watch anime, John.
You know what? We got some anime coming soon. Dan, what's in Toya news this week? Because you shared a couple things on Toya that we should probably talk about, or at least one thing on Toya.
Oh, yeah, the brand that I normally follow in Japan is the amazing Yamaguchi brand by Kayudo. They make Rebel Tech stuff, and they are coming out with, they announced that they're making a Deku, a Midoriya,
Yeah.
My Hero Academia character. There are no actual shots of it. It's just an announcement. They have a couple of other ones to get through before they even get that. So that thing's probably
2021.
Probably
Late 2021.
There's 3 figures in the way.
What do we got?
Because they have the Optimus Prime that is coming.
Yep.
They have Harley Quinn with the
DC.
Suicide Squad look-ish. And then they have War Machine.
Ooh.
Yeah, the War Machine looks rad.
Yeah, War Machine's always really rad.
Yeah. So we'll see what that is. And
When does the new My Hero Academia come out?
October something.
Yeah, I knew it was coming up, and I didn't
Yeah,
know what the date
it's-
was.
It's soon.
Hyped.
And that's it for this week's weekly drops. The thunderstorms are rolling in, beating down the hatches, so we better get off the air.
That's all the discourse we have.
Before the lights go out. Chris, always a pleasure.
Thanks,
Happy
Dan.
to be here again.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. John?
I have to go to anime remedial school now, so I will be back in
Anime
2020.
99 for
Here's
John.
the one thing you should know about anime. There's always more anime.
Okay. I'm gonna buy a
So
corgi.
it doesn't matter how much you watch, you're never gonna watch it all.
I've heard that there's a corgi
Not with
in
that
that show.
attitude.
There's never
And his
you'll
name is
never
Ein.
be able to finish all the anime. 'cause
Ein is
they make
good.
so many anime.
Ein is a good dog.
Even if you stick with one genre, it doesn't matter. You'll always have more anime. I mean, Chris is the big Gundam fan.
Gundam.
He hasn't even seen all the Gundam.
Facts.
It's impossible. It is physically impossible.
That's not true.
Anyway, so that's it for this week's weekly drops from uniquedrops.com. Ask for it by name. I am your beautiful host, Dan, back from the Wild Wild East. Thank you. Stay beautiful. Love you all. Except for Nazis.
Fuck Nazis.
Fuck 'em.